Hello there, it's time to do an all Intel gaming PC. Yes, you heard me right, I finally bought an Intel Arc graphics card and I wanted to put it into a PC build. Also, DeepCool sent out their CC360 ARGB micro ATX case, so I'll be building in that today, and it does look like a pretty decent case, but we'll find out in this video. So a big thank you to DeepCool for sending this case out. So without any more talking, let's get this PC built. And here's an overview of all of the components we're using today. Starting off with the platform, we are going with an MSI B660-A Pro. This is the motherboard I use for my test bench, and to be fair, for a B series chipset, it's a solid motherboard. The CPU I've currently got slotted in here is an i5-12400F, which is a solid 6-core 12-thread i5 CPU, so there's no problems there. And the cooler is a Noctua NHU12S. Yes, you don't really need this for a i5-12400F, which is a 65 watt chip. However, it is a lot better than the stock cooler, as it's just way quieter. For storage, and I'm going to have to cut in here for a bit, I don't really recommend a SATA SSD with a platform like this, especially when NVMe's are so cheap these days. However, I've just got this one lying around, but I will link a 1TB NVMe in the description. Speaking of parts I don't really recommend for a build like this, and this is my Corsair RM850X, which is a super overkill power supply for this platform. You'd get away with a 550 watt, so I will link a 550 watt in the description below. And then this brings me on to the GPU. This is the Intel Arc A750, which is my first ever Intel Arc card, so I'm really excited to see what this is going to be like. Will there be any driver problems or anything like that? This is what I want to find out and report back on, so I will let you lot know how well or how poorly the Intel Arc GPU gets on. And this brings me on to the case. This is the DeepCool CC360 ARGB. It's a micro ATX case, which is specifically what I asked DeepCool for, as we've got a micro ATX motherboard. But it's a solid looking case. It's got 3 RGB fans, which are addressable RGB, and they can be controlled via the top of the case as well. So that's a cool feature right there. And most importantly, it's got tempered glass, which is always something you want to see in a PC. This is a good trick I learned. If you have modular cables, plug them in to your motherboard before you actually put your motherboard in your case. Plug in that front panel audio. Oh dear. Right, to help put in the power supply, I'm going to take out the hard drive cage. Luckily, I don't need it for this build, but this is one thing to note out for. If you're building in this case and you're using a hard drive with a big power supply like the RM850X, you might need to take the hard drive cage out just to put it in. Right then, let's try it without the hard drive cage, and I'm hoping it goes in now. It's a bit of a tight squeeze, to be honest, but there we go, we got it in. Also, another cool thing to note is you can actually move the hard drive cage forward, which is very helpful in this scenario, as the RM850X is a massive power supply, so if you've got a big power supply, don't worry, because the hard drive cage can move forward. So to mount a 2.5-inch SSD to this case, it does require a bit of a unusual screw, I'd like to say, but it does look like it's a decent mounting method, so let's just give it a go. Last but certainly not least, it's time for the GPU. Now it's for the small task of cable management, and to be fair, it doesn't look like it's going to be too hard in this case. There's a lot of space around the back here, so let's crack on with it. This is the moment of truth to see if your cable management is actually good, and that is to try and get the side panel on without having to like put your whole weight down on it, and yeah, there we go. Okay, now it's time for the best part of any PC build, and that is the peel. I love that feeling. I've actually just realised there's one inside as well, so let's get that one. And there we go. The all Intel gaming PC build is looking pretty clean, if I don't say so myself, because yeah, I think it's one of the better looking PC builds I've ever done. One thing that I probably would have liked to do is add some custom sleeved cables to the build, but this is doubling it as my test bench for GPU content, so custom sleeve cables isn't going to be the best bet for that, as I'm going to have to change them out every time I want to put a new GPU in. As for the Intel Arc A750, I will report back with how the drivers are performing and that sort of stuff, because I hear a lot of people online saying that the Intel Arc drivers are still pretty bad. They're probably just Nvidia fanboys, to be fair, but there's only one way to find out, and that is to test it for yourself. And that's what I'm going to be doing, because I'm going to be working on an Arc A750 video, which will be coming by the end of the year, hopefully. I think the CC360 case that DeepCool sent out is probably one of the better budget cases I've ever used. I've used a ton of budget PC cases, from PC flipping and just selling PC builds in general, and let me tell you this, the DeepCool CC360 ARGB is probably one of the better ones I've ever used. It's got 3 ARGB 120mm fans, which are not only controllable through the motherboard software, but they're also controllable with a button on top of the case as well. So say if you've got an older system which doesn't have addressable RGB headers, this case is perfect for that, as you can still control the RGB. The airflow doesn't look too bad on it either, with 2 massive ventilations on either side of the front panel, so I think you'll be fine as long as you're not using anything too high-end in this, so the build that I've got today is probably perfect for a case like this. By being a budget case, naturally there are going to be a few things which I'm not a massive fan of. The main thing was the PCIe brackets are not actually screw-in ones, you've got to break them off, so you can't reuse them. That is a bit of a shame, but at the price point of just £50 to £55 here in the UK, you can't really deduct that many points from DeepCool, because to be fair, overall for the price point, I think this case is absolutely pretty incredible. So if you're planning to build a budget gaming PC, make sure you check out this case, because it does get the Pro Yam Yam PC seal of approval for being an excellent value case. It's also perfect if you want to get into PC flipping as well, because RGB, decent airflow and decent features is very likely to sell gaming PCs. So with all that being said, we arrive at the end of the video. If you enjoyed this one, leave it a like, it does really help out here with the channel, and there are 2 other tech videos right up here which might be right up your alley. Make sure you stay tuned for the Intel Arc content, because more is definitely coming very soon. With that being said, I'll catch you in the next one, and I hope you have a good rest of your day.